Hi everyone, welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. Please subscribe if you haven't yet already. It's a red button beneath me somewhere, and if you click on it you will subscribe to my channel and that would make me really happy. And if you click the little bell button down there also, you'll get alerts every time I upload new content, which is also awesome. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That would make me very happy. Today's video is the 7th in a series of American Horror Story and Get Ready With Me with Cult Beauty Products, or Cult Beauty Products. One was just an unboxing. And this is about Season 7, Episode 5, Holes. Today's video focuses mostly on drugstore with the exception of two not drugstore primers that I'm using. And I'm using the Morphe 350O palette to get this look. So if you'd like to see how I got this look, and if you'd like to hear a bit of a ramble about Season 7, Episode 5 of American Horror Story, Holes, please keep watching. I've already moisturized and I've already used my Milani Make It Last setting spray. I'm gonna do a, not that there were a lot of I was thinking about my pores last night when I was watching this episode of American Horror Story, because although we don't get a lot of physical holes in skin, that kind of a thing, when Allie was doing the first thing in the beginning when she was looking in the mirror, I was pretty sure she was looking at her pores, but she was looking at something on her neck. So I've been kind of thinking about my pores since then. So I'm gonna do double pores today, double pore filling primers today. I don't have any primer on my eye, but I am gonna go in with my NYX Jumbo Pencil and Milk. I don't really have a favorite drugstore primer, and this isn't gonna be all drugstore, but I'm trying to kind of focus on that area of the market for this installment. So we know a lot now. I'm gonna go in with the first pale color all over the top part of my lid and down to my crease, just to cover up my perception of discoloration. And then I'm gonna build up my crease a decent amount. And I do have my computer over there, so I'm looking at the outline that I've made. I'm again gonna go through, like I did last week. I am going to, I think, unless something changes, going to go through last week like I did with characters. I'm gonna go in on the top row, second from the right, there's kind of a brown, and this is a Sigma F63. So I always kind of thought that Ivy was involved. We still need a timeline. I feel like everything is happening in very quick succession. But I want to know when Ivy joined, when that became official. I think she probably was officially in the cult when they hired Winter. I was rewatching part of episode 2 today when the neighbors move in across the street and Winter has let Oz hang out with them when they're looking at the beehive, and Allie freaks out, but Ivy's totally fine because I think she knows them at this point. Then I'm going to go in with kind of the baby poop shade on the row beneath it, same brush. The question that I have now, and the question that I still have and that I'll have by the end of this, and I hope we have resolution at some point during the season, is why Allie? Why is everyone gaslighting her so badly? The clowns that attacked the couple across the street, one of them couldn't have been Winter because Winter was with Oz. This is in episode 1. So that probably was Adina Porter, who was the female in that group. Elizabeth Mott blending brush, and I'm going to go in with the orange red in the middle of the far right column. So, and Ivy, yeah, just really intense, hatred towards her wife. She says, "I'm ready, I hate this country, what it's become. I hate my fucking wife for letting it happen." That is just so intense and so, I don't know, misplaced. Or not, I don't know. It's just hard. I'm gonna go in with a dark color. Bottom row, third from the right, with my Sigma F63 again. I'm gonna do dark eyes today and pale lips, or pale lips for me at least. This is a really pretty palette. Okay, so Ivy, oh, and then also too, I'm rewatching some of the older episodes when I'm pretty sure that she knew that the guy was going to be dead at the butchery, or the butcher on Main, when she had Allie go there. I'm pretty sure all of those things were constructed that way, and I'm just unclear on why. Start going in with some shimmers. This is a Morphe E19, and I'm going to go in with second column from the right in the middle. I'm tapping this off, putting it in the center. So Yeah, I feel like I feel like when this is over and we know everything, I need to watch everything again, especially with respect to Ivy and the doctor. So I'll move on to Kai. When he spilled the coffee, middle top row, it's kind of a gold. When he spilled the coffee on Allie, Ivy must have been in the cult by then. So I'm probably pointing out too many of these kind of things, but I am just kind of reframing. I'm trying to focus on this one episode, but it's hard to when the information that we gleaned while watching this episode really informs a lot of the things that we've seen before. And this is not dark enough for me. I'll bring you in a little bit closer while I finish up my eyes. Actually, before I move on to Kai, I think we need to talk about Dermot Mulrooney. And I'm going to go in with the shimmer on the bottom left. I think it's the darkest shimmer. So, couple of things about him. I'm just covering all this up. Still, the light is peeking through in the center, but I just want to make this dark. Okay. Kind of defeating the purpose of having the orange palette, but I'll brighten up my crease a little bit maybe. So, first thing is, let's talk about when he's talking to Beverly when he is maybe going to fire Beverly, and he talks about fake news. I don't think that that's fake news. I think that Beverly wanting to show real stories, they aren't lies. It's not like she's adjusting numbers or lying about it. And yeah, crime is down, but these crimes that she's reporting are real. So the idea that that's fake news is problematic because it's not really fake news. I'm going to go back in with the kind of rose gold color, second to the right column with a small Real Techniques definer brush in my inner corner, just to kind of make this be a real orange palette look. And I do see, interestingly, some of the orange poking through. It's actually pretty. I thought I was going to be covering it all up, but it looks like some of the orange is kind of stuck around through the inside of poking through the black, which is nice. I'm going to go back in with the Elizabeth Mott brush and that same orange on my crease. Okay, so then they go to his house and everything's scarier in Latin. And Dermot Mulrooney is walking down the stairs with gloves on, licking his fingers. I just, ugh, ick. And we find out that he has a gimp in the attic. And I've heard people talk about torture porn and all those kinds of things. I have been watching, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I've been watching Face Off. It's on the Sci-Fi Channel. I'm watching reruns. I'm now on season 3. And it changes the way that I look at graphic kind of violence. I'm going to go in with the middle shade, and this is the smallest Real Techniques little crease brush just to kind of get right there in the middle, and then I'll start with liner. So, what was I saying even? Oh, yes, I know what I was saying. I've been watching, and actually before I start with my liner, I'm going to go in with my Benefit Professional Pore Filling Primer just to block out all of those holes on my face. So, I've been watching Face Off, and that really changes the way. I noticed it with Gary and his hand, and I definitely noticed it this week. Go in with my NYX Liquid Black Liner on my lid. What I do with these liners, so this liner used to work really well for me all over the place, but as I'm getting older and as things are getting drier, it tends to bleed on my wing. So I do love this, but I can't always use it on my wing. So also using a pen to kind of flick myself out is good. So that's what I'm going to use the Jessie's Girl for. This is really good, but it's not as good for me, at least, on the top of my lid. So I'm first going to go in with this on my line, and then I'll come back and do my flick. So I noticed it this week with the GIMP when they were killing him. And I also noticed it with RJ with the nails. But I want to talk about the GIMP because I think, I don't know if any of you out there watching this there's a company called Research, and they made books in the 80s and 90s. And the one that I'm thinking about is called Modern Primitives. And there was a guy, he was a Fakir Musafar, I think was his name. I'll include a link to him in the description box down below. And that extreme piercing thing is something that people actually do. Not a lot of people, but some people do. I think that that person probably actually had those piercings, legit had those piercings. The way that he was pulled down wasn't real. That was theatrical makeup and prosthetics and stuff. Yeah, watching Face Off changes everything that I'm seeing now. I don't watch a lot of graphic horror. I watch a lot of just like scary sneaking up behind you horror. Now I'll go with the Jesse's Girl on my flick. I noticed it when I saw It too. I was thinking, oh my gosh, you know how they do that? And I was thinking of that when I was watching The Hand last week, and when I was watching especially what was happening with RJ, and when they were taking the GIMP down. So that was an intense scene. And they recorded it. I wonder if, because she keeps getting these tips, but I wonder if the IP address, or if there'd be some encoding on, I don't know if they're going to go, well, I mean, they're talking about 4chan and things like that, so maybe they would. I'm just wondering if there would be a way to track the origin of the movie. So, okay, we know that the therapist is in the cult. He might actually be running the cult, and I'm not sure about any of that yet, but going back towards the beginning, when Allie is seeing him, Dr. Rudy Vincent is apparently his name, but I have an opinion about that too. So, and this actually is drugstore. Bioderma is drugstore if you're in Europe, if you're in France actually. All right, first use of this too of Instant Age Rewind. Haven't used this in a while. This was good. All right, here's my inaugural Con Asila, and this is the neutralizing one. So she is talking to him, and he asks her, Dr. Vincent asks her if there were any, I don't know what this was, if there were any, she had any inkling that there were problems, any idea that your relationship with Ivy might have been tenuous. And she goes back to September of 2016, so a little bit before the election. I put on way too much of this, but that's okay. And she goes back to this thing in September, and she's talking about how she tries to give her a gift, which I think was something sexual, but I'm not sure what that was in the box that she opened up. It wasn't a Tiffany box, it was something kind of pink, and I don't know what it was, but Ivy wasn't having it. And it seems like there's, bitterness happening because Allie's unable to work, or I'm not sure how much Ivy actually believes about what's happening with Allie. I'll zoom you out a tiny bit now that I'm done with my eyes. And I am going to bake today. I'm going to use the Coty Airspun powder. I probably should have put on my foundation first. I'll let this bake for a little bit while I do my brows and talk to you. Yeah, so not as much about Allie in this episode except for her relationship to Ivy. Okay, let's talk about Meadow. I'm avoiding talking about Kai and his family and Beverly and everything until the end because I feel like that will be something that will be good for me to focus on. Or maybe I can talk about it with weird under eyes while I'm baking. This is neat too. It has a brow gel on the other side. So my question about Meadow is, when she initially disappears, did she disappear herself? Was that a stunt to make it look like she was disappeared? Is the fact that she's coming over and banging on Allie's window, the fact that when Harrison and the cop come back to the house after that scene, and this is annoying, I'm gonna wipe off this bake. I put it on too soon. I just want to keep going on with my makeup. Lack of focus fail. It'll be interesting to see how the foundation goes on over my powder. Oops. All right, so this is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus in Nude Ivory. What has a paddle? I've never used this before. So I'm assuming I'm supposed to put it right on my face, yeah? And not on my hand first. This is unusual. I don't know that I have a foundation like this. All right, smells a little funny. Kind of smells like paint. So yeah, I'm not sure about Meadow. I'm not sure if she is, it's not bad on top of the powder. I wouldn't do that on a regular basis, but I was afraid that it was going to end up being a terrible, catastrophic, kind of cakey mess. Don't like how this smells. It does kind of smell like paint. Oh, and this is a Flower Beauty Sponge, which I love actually. I use this a lot. It's really soft and very reasonably priced. I don't do a lot of shopping at Walmart, but You can get this also from the Flower Beauty brand site. Okay, mischief managed with the preemptive baking. All right, and I'm clearly gonna have to go in with some bronzer because this is just a little too ghostly. Going in with the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer and Real Techniques Multitask Brush. Just on the high points of my cheeks where the sun would naturally hit me. This is not helping. That foundation is way too light for me, but that's okay. Yeah, so I'm not sure about Meadow and if she is being kind of ousted from the cult, if she's being kind of terrorized by Harrison, or if this is all kind of a part of the long game to fool Allie for whatever reason we're fooling her. Okay, and one last thing before I go into the Pinky situation with Beverly and Kai. I did notice also in that beginning scene with Dr. Rudy Vincent and Allie, I noticed that he has the DSM-3. The DSM is the manual, the guide that people in the psych community use as a tool to diagnose. And the most recent one is the 5. And I believe the 5 came out 2 years ago. And the 3R came out probably in the 80s. I don't even know. Maybe early 90s, but a while ago. So, and it's displayed pretty prominently behind her when she's sitting in the chair and talking about the holes. And wow, I haven't used this maybe in 20 years. Not this one tube, that would be disgusting. But I haven't used this mascara in about 20 years, and this is good. This is a cult classic for a reason. Great Lash Mascara is. So yeah, I was wondering why that was happening. Why the book behind him was this book from a long time ago. And I don't know if that means that he's not really a therapist. Maybe he decorated this office with a bunch of outdated books that he got at a flea market or something. Maybe it's not his office. Maybe it's an office that belongs to an older therapist who was around back then. And I do know therapists that share offices, but this was a prop and I have to believe that it was on purpose. Rimmel Stay Matte Foundation in 001 Translucent. I'm gonna zoom you through my lips. I'm using Rimmel East End Snob Liner and NYX Butter Gloss in Madeline. And then I'll just bring my computer over here and we'll start talking about Beverly and Kai and Dr. Vincent. Another squirt with Milani Make It Last. And let's dive in. All right, so when Beverly and Kai are doing their pinky swear, their pinky cult situation, and Kai starts telling the story of what happened to him 3 years ago when his parents, with the murder-suicide of his parents. One of the things that I noticed is that he was on the red pill really briefly, which I've done some research, but I've kind of stopped researching it because it got a little bit scary. It seems like the red pill is this community of men who think that women are ruining men's lives, men's rights activists. And I don't know if he's looking at that because that's what he's thinking. I don't know if he's thinking that because of his, checking to see if my contour was way off, but it's not bad. Not sure if he was looking at that because of his dad or because of him. He calls his brother, who is a therapist, a new therapist then, and he calls him Vin. We know him as Dr. Rudy Vincent, so I kind of wonder if he changed his name. I wonder if his name is Vincent Anderson or what, but he does call him Vin. Kai calls him Vin. And then they agree to keep them in the house mummified because of financial reasons, because of pension and because of disability, which is just super duper duper intense. And the way that they agree to do it is his brother, Dr. Rudy Vincent, extends a pinky and Kai accepts. So that's what's making me wonder if Dr. Rudy Vincent is the head of the cult, kind of what's happening with that. And then I almost wonder, it seems like there's a power shift between, or some kind of power dynamic fluctuation or variability happening between Kai and Beverly, because I noticed that in the butchery after they killed Dermot Mulrooney and they were talking about RJ, poor RJ, poor RJ. And kind of seems like in the end, when we come back from Kai's reveal, that something in her face that looks like there's more power there. So I'm really curious to see about the progression of Beverly's character I don't know if we're going to get much of a backstory on her. I don't know that we need to. I think we understand her pretty well. I think she's been through a lot. And very curious to see what happens with her character. So the two big questions that I have are, again, and this keeps happening every week, is why is everyone, all this seems to be focused on gaslighting Allie? Why gaslight Allie? And the other is, what's up with Dr. Vincent? And is he the head of the cult? Is he medicating people wrong? Is it not Adderall that Kai is taking? Is it something else? Is it something else that he prescribed to Allie? Wondering what kinds of things he's doing in terms of prescribing and in terms of therapy, if he's a real therapist, why he has the DSM-3R, all those things. And then two things that I want to leave you with. These came up on the podcast that I mentioned a few weeks ago. It's called This American Horror Story. I'll leave a link in the description box down below. The two things were, one of them mentioned The Snow Queen, which I had never read. It's a Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale. I'll just read you a little bit of a synopsis. I'll include the link in the description box below to the Wikipedia article about this and about the other thing. This is just one that I'd never read. One of the main characters in the story's name is Kai, and it's spelled K-A-I. And just read you a little bit of this. The devil, in the form of an evil troll, made a magic mirror that distorts the appearance of everything that it reflects. The magic mirror fails to reflect the good and beautiful aspects of people and things and magnifies their bad and ugly aspects. The devil, who is headmaster at a troll school, takes the mirror and his people throughout the world, delighting in it, using it to distort everyone and everything. The mirror makes the loveliest landscapes look like boiled spinach. They attempt to carry the mirror into heaven in order to make fools of the angels and God, but the higher they lift it, the more the mirror shakes with laughter, and it slips from their grasp and falls back to earth, shattering into a billion pieces, some no larger than a grain of sand. These splinters are blown by the wind all over earth and get into people's hearts and eyes, freezing their hearts like blocks of ice and making their eyes like the troll mirror itself, seeing only the bad and ugly things in people. And then years later, a little boy named Kai and a little girl named Gerda lived next door to each other. They're friends and playmates, as close as they were if they were siblings. Kai's grandmother tells the children about the Snow Queen, who is the ruler of the, quote, snow bees, snowflakes that look like bees. As bees have a queen, so do the snow bees, and she is seen when the snowflakes cluster the most. So that whole snow bees thing, and the fact that one of the main characters' names is Kai, is interesting. And the other is the Faulkner short story, A Rose for Emily. Oh, Faulkner. And spoiler alert on this, there's a guy that comes to town and he doesn't want to commit to her, and he ends up dying. And she ends up keeping his corpse. And they mentioned this when thinking about the parents. They also, in this podcast, they also were talking about Norman Bates. There's a scene when Kai is holding his mother's like mummified hand and saying how he's going to do something good. I watched the first episode again too recently. And I noticed that as Kai's leaving his room, when he walks by the room with the rose on it, that he kisses it. Like, I'm noticing that he has this relationship with them, obviously in death, So that was a lot. We got more pieces of the puzzle. We still have big pieces missing. Mainly why everything is connected to Allie. Who is Oz? What's the kind of relationship of Oz with everybody else? And what's happening with Dr. Rudy Vincent. Thank you so much for watching. I'm having a lot of fun doing this, and I hope that you're having fun watching it. A lot to do in the world and a lot to do on YouTube, and I really appreciate that you took some time to spend with me today. Take care, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.